The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. So good, so good, so good.
New markdowns up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Fresh kicks, spring tops, new dresses. There's always a score.
I mean, the denim section is unreal.
Why do I rack? All the dresses.
I always find something amazing.
Head to your Nordstrom Rack store to find can't-miss deals on all the spring things. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
Well, March things, just innuendos got a little stronger. The top of the pajamas, the buttons weren't always buttoned up all the way. When I would eat at the counter above the sink, she made it a habit to bend over. In the kitchen, bending over, a lady bending over can go to the side and bend over to pick something up. You don't have to do like if you were stretching your calves or your thighs. So it just got ugly.
Thanks for that information. Just in case I needed to know how a lady can bend over. Okay.
This is the plaintiff, Michael Skladany. He says he rented a room in the defendant's apartment, and one of his tenants fell in love with him because he works out every day and has a pretty nice build. The woman drank a lot. He had to call the cops, and he's had it, so he moved out. The defendant refuses to return his rent, and he's here suing him for his money in the amount of $712.39. This is the defendant, Paul Heyman. He says the plaintiff has things all twisted around because no one fell in love with him. The plaintiff felt rejected when he wanted to have sex, and his housemate didn't, and that's why he moved out. Owe him all this money? No way. He's accused of being a rotten renter.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
The People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Skladany, you're suing your former landlord, Mr. Heyman, for $712.39. You say he owes you. Tell me what happened.
Well, I moved in February 2nd, and I got one box into the apartment before I was asked for 2 months' rent up front in cash. So I gave it to
I'm surprised you got a box in, because I wouldn't let anybody into my apartment until they paid up front either. Correct. But go ahead.
So I had the cash on me, and I gave it to her as instructed, and she took off. She said she had to get it to the landlord or to the owner of the condo. So that surprised me because I assumed she was the owner. So that's basically how it got started. The first month of February went well. As you get to know each other, you tell stories, you share life stories and so forth, and everything was good in February. The person that rented the master, her name was Kathy. She used to tell me how much she adored me. And I would always cut that off. I'd say, hey, I'm just a friend, just a roommate. She was impressed with my stories, etc. Well, March things, just innuendos got a little stronger. The top of the pajamas, the buttons weren't always buttoned up all the way. When I would eat at the counter above the sink, she made it a habit to bend over. In the kitchen, bending over, a lady bending over can go to the side and bend over to pick something up. You don't have to do like if you were stretching your calves or your thighs. So it just got ugly.
Thanks for that information.
Just in case you needed to know.
Just in case I needed to know how a lady can bend over. Okay, go ahead.
You don't bend over that way when someone's eating. Anyhow, April, the day after Easter, we were having dinner. We went out for a cup of soup or something. Again, she had a few too many, and she started to insult me because our views on weddings differed. So she was telling me what a failure in life I was because I was married once and I got divorced. She's had like 3 or 4 weddings or marriages. So it just got ugly, insulting, and as far as I'm concerned, I really didn't want to speak to her again.
Okay, that all happened on April 4th, right?
April 2nd.
And reading from your complaint, because I love this, while we were driving home, she was talking to me like I was her husband. She started insulting me and said I was a failure. Is that what husbands and wives? Apparently, that one marriage did not go well, if this is what you think of. I mean, it was kind of like, what? Wait. So April was chilly between you and your roommate. And then what happens?
Not one word was spoken to me the rest of the month of April. Until April 28th, when she asked me for the rent early. Now, I had already made up my mind to move, to get out of there. So I said, it's not May 1st. That's our agreement, first of the month. On April 30th, you see my, where I gave her the 30-day notice. I wrote to Paul. The minute Paul let her know that he received an email, she just blew off the handle.
What'd she do?
Just screaming at me, get out of here. You're the most negative person in the world. So
what are you suing the landlord for?
Well, he's the one that gave me the lease. His name's on the lease.
Right, but what does the landlord owe you? Is he refusing to give you a security deposit? No. You want him to pay for your moving truck, but you had a month-to-month tenancy, and you're the one who called it. Right. You're the one who called it on the 30 days, so I'm not getting refund for rent from May 14th through May 31st. Talk to me about that.
Okay, so when I contacted Paul, he said I had to work out with her. So I went to her, and I asked her, and the first time she responded, she was under the influence, and you could tell by her response. But then she came back with a text and stated, hey, I have a new roommate that will be more than happy, will work the money out if you can get out by the 15th. So that's part of my evidence where she stated, you'll get your money, just get out. What was your response to that text? Well, they ghosted me after that text.
Mr. Heyman, you don't know much in this case because you've left a lot to the hands of Kathy. Is Kathy there?
She is.
Okay, is she in the room with you?
She's right next to me.
Okay, can we hook her up? Because I'd kind of like to get some insight.
She's coming over.
Yeah. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Judge.
Hi.
I'm Catherine. I've never gone by Kathy.
Okay, I'm sorry. Catherine, and what's your last name?
Rado.
Ms. Rado, raise your right hand.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. You're on.
Okay, so talk to me. What were these months from February to May like?
I felt that he was a little on the odd side of a personality when I first met him because he was always talking to himself. He had a lot of noise going on all the time and very theatrical. And I could see that his temperament was really always on the edge. He was always ready to be offended about anything. So I was very cautious. I'm in the beauty industry and I work with people every day. And, I'm going to be 72 years old, and I made this arrangement because I know I don't look my age.
No, you do not. I'm not even going to give you grief for saying that yourself instead of waiting for me to say it, because you do not.
No,
go ahead, go on.
No, I'm used to that.
Yeah.
I'm used to that. But anyway, so, I just kind of backed off from his personality.
He says that you were making it uncomfortable to live there by coming on to him. Is that true or not true? Was there some flirting going on between you two?
No, ma'am. I had no interest in him. I felt him.
On your part?
I really actually never even realized or noticed that he was making any kind of he's very insecure with his looks and his body. And
how do you know?
He's because of his complaints, because he was always asking, how do I look? Aren't I handsome? I'm so smart. I'm so talented. This was his bragging every day.
Okay.
And so, I worked a lot. I wasn't home. I have a boyfriend I spend the weekends with. It's all lies.
He is suing the landlord to pay for his moving truck and this rent from half of the month. He's claiming that there was an agreement between you and him that he would get out earlier and get back, because he paid first and last when he moved in. So he wanted to get recompensed the other half of the month, and he's saying that you agreed to that. At any point in time, did you agree with him that he would leave at the middle of the month and get his rent back?
No, absolutely not. What I did say to him, and I gave him a text, and you have a copy of it, I'm sure. I said, I have a new roommate that would be interested in moving in. Would you like to move out ahead of time, and we can work out that?
And what did he respond to that?
He never responded. I never got anything back.
Mr. Skladany, tell me what you responded to that text.
Okay, I did not move out. I'm visiting a friend in a hospital. I have my possessions and a lot of money in my room. Please do not bother me, because I have not vacated my room, which is paid for. I will clean on the 30th.
Oh,
and then
I will clean on the 30th. Tell me then how it is that if you decide to leave earlier, someone agreed to pay you back the half of the month, because you're supposed to give the landlord 30 days notice. You gave the landlord 30 days notice. Now you want to show me that you had an agreement with her to move out on the 15th and get the half a month. But the only time I see her offering for you to move out on the 15th, you're saying, I'll clean it on the 30th. I don't see you agreeing with her. But how does that mean that that you reached any kind of agreement? You're not entitled to the money. You're certainly not entitled to the moving truck. I don't know what planet you're living on there, but you're not even entitled to the May 14th through May 31st, because you can't show me your offer and someone's acceptance. Whether it's him or her, I don't care, because he did relegate it all to her. So, but the bottom line is that unless you can show me your offer of something and someone's subsequent acceptance of it, you don't have that deal, so you don't get that. So my verdict in this case is for the defendant.
So the plaintiff fails in his effort to recover $712 from the defendant. Mr. Skladany, how do you feel about the judge's decision? What are you thinking right now?
She's 100% correct. I didn't have the agreement, but the person living in the master bedroom made it very uncomfortable to live there, screaming and getting, just blackout drunk. So it was an ugly situation, and I felt I had to get out.
And you did. So I guess things are better. You just didn't get your money back. Mr. Heyman, how do you feel about the outcome of this case? Kind of surprised you got sued, aren't you?
I'm very surprised. I was shocked, the whole thing. So the judge did a great job. I'm very pleased.
Most defendants who win say the same thing. The judge did a great job, and you're happy.
Doug, here's the thing. If two tenants are fighting, don't get along, you have a situation where one person makes an advance of the other, and the first tenant gets upset, that's not on the landlord. The only time it's really on the landlord is if one tenant does something that is really disruptive or crosses the line to the point where that tenant should be evicted and the landlord does nothing.
Who do you admire most in the world?
There is a soldier from World War II who's like right at the top of my list, and he's never gotten the recognition. He didn't win a Medal of Honor. He didn't get all the accolades that people usually get. It's certainly not during his lifetime, because he died in 1985. And his name was Master Sergeant Roddy Edmonds, who served in the U.S. Army. He got captured by the Germans at the Battle of the Bulge, along with like 20,000 American soldiers, and was taken and marched to a prison camp. He got to the camp, and he was separated into a group of 1,200 or so soldiers, but he was the ranking non-commissioned officer. So he was in charge of these guys. The first or second night that they're there, the German major in charge of the camp says, in the morning, you're to send all of the Jews in your group, the Jewish officers, out in front of the barracks. So he gets up early in the morning and he says, we're all going out, and 1,200 men go outside. The German major walks over to them and says, grabs Sergeant Edmonds and says, these men can't all be Jews. So tell me who they are. And he says, no. The German major takes a pistol, puts it to his temple, and says, you're going to tell me who the Jews are now, or I'm going to shoot you where you stand. And Edmonds said, no. And he saved about 200 lives because the German major just put the gun back in his holster and walked away. That guy's a hero. That's my guy.
This is the plaintiff, Linda Brown. She says she purchased a stove from the defendants, and when she had it hooked up, the gas company red flagged it. The thing had a dangerous gas leak. These people of no moral character put her in harm's way, and she's suing for the $287.82 she says she's owed. These are the defendants, Megan and Lucas. Megan says the woman came to their house. She tested the stove and the burners for about 30 minutes, and she bought the stove. It worked perfectly fine. They have no idea what the plaintiff did to the thing when she moved it or hooked it up, and they owe her nothing because a sale is a sale. They're accused of getting a customer all hot.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says she bought a stove from the defendant that was really unsafe, and she's actually lucky to be here. It was such a fire hazard. But the defendant says she came to their house, tested the stove, bought it. End of story. It's the case of getting a customer hot.
Thank you, Douglas.
You are welcome.
All right, Ms. Brown, you were in the market to buy a stove and you wanted to buy a used one to save some money, so you saw an advertisement on Facebook Marketplace that the defendants had up, correct?
Correct.
And how much did you agree to pay for the stove?
The stove was $175, but when he came to deliver it, we didn't have change, so we just gave him $180.
Okay. And had you gone to his house to test the stove before buying it?
Correct. I went to the house, and they attached the stove to this device here. I don't know if you can see it, but you hook it up to one of them gas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. So, and when we turned on the stove wasn't turned on for 30 minutes. When I turned the top burner on, they kept insisting, like I said, I want to try all of the burners, and they kept insisting, which Lucas said, he said, oh, shut it off, just shut it off. And
what? Shut it off? Why?
I don't know. It didn't really click on me to know why he wanted me to just shut it off.
That didn't raise a suspicion? You want me to draw a suspicious conclusion from that? You want me to draw the conclusion that he knows the burners wouldn't stay on? Why didn't you draw that conclusion while you were there?
I don't know. I guess I was just happy about finding a stove that possibly was going to work. Then when we got the stove, when he delivered the stove, the following day, they came out, Norwich Public Utilities came out and hooked it up. And the guy said the burners would not stay lit. The top burner would burn, and then it would just shut off, and gas would just keep coming out of it.
Let me hear from you folks, Megan and Lucas. Who wants to talk first?
I will, sure.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, I posted the ad on Facebook Marketplace.
Why were you selling it?
We purchased a property, and it came with the property, and we didn't need it. It didn't fit in our space.
We purchased a property, it came with the property, but it didn't fit in our space. It was in your space before you were,
Yeah.
so how did it not fit in your space?
It's a small mobile home.
We live it's a mobile home, and they had a full-size stove, and we wanted to change to
okay. All right.
a size stove.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I posted it on Facebook Marketplace, and Linda reached out to me, said she was interested. So I called her, set up the next day. Was it the next day? About a couple days to come and look at it, make sure it worked. Turned on the burners. She stayed to make sure the oven heated up and everything. Said yes, she was definitely interested. Asked if we could drop it off to her the next day. Lucas drove up, dropped it off to her. She asked if we could stay to install it, but we don't really know how to install the gas lines and all that, so we said no.
Did you ever test the stove to see if it worked at your place?
Yes. Yeah.
Because it was, why was she saying that you hooked it up to a little gas thing? What was she talking about?
The previous owners had it hooked up to a little propane tank.
Okay.
So we just hooked it up to the same propane tank, turned it on, showed her it worked.
Why did you have to hook it up? What were you using to cook before you sold it?
We were renovating. We weren't living here
We
yet.
weren't living in the space yet.
We were gutting and redoing the property. When she came here, we didn't even have floors down.
Have you had a repairman come and look at it and see what it would take to fix? What's the problem with it, Ms. Brown?
No, because the Norwich Public Utilities red tagged it. They said it was too dangerous for
I read what they wrote, and I do see that you got something from them. I didn't see where they said it was too dangerous to whatever. What I see is that they say that the burners wouldn't stay lit. Yeah. And were you turning off, Mr. Lucas, were you turning off the stove when it would be on, off and on, off and on while she was testing it?
No, I lit every burner and the oven, but we're inside a small space with no ventilation, so I turned it off.
Okay, so you were turning it off. So she didn't have it running 30 minutes.
No, we had it running. I would heat up the oven for her.
No, but she says that you kept saying, turn it off. And you're telling me, yeah, I did because it's a small space and I was worried. I'm actually now worried based on your answer.
No, it was just, why keep it lit more than, so many minutes?
Well, what's the so many minutes, Mr. Lucas? That's what I'm asking you. What is the so many minutes?
It worked. What was the point?
Are you going to answer me or no? Megan, why don't you look at me and tell me what was the so many minutes?
I'm not sure. I was in and out of the room. I was also doing other renovations in another room. I do have a witness with me that was in the room when he was testing it and helped him, had it all hooked up.
Okay, who's the witness?
My stepdad.
Your stepdad?
My stepdad.
Let me talk to your stepdad.
Yes. Sure.
Can you raise your right hand, sir? Thank you.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Jeremy Zimmerman?
Okay, Mr. Zimmerman, were you there during the testing?
Yes.
What went down? Just tell me what happened.
We had hooked it up to the propane tank, and we probably let it run for like 3 to 4 minutes.
All right, and then at the end of the 3 or 4 minutes, Mr. Lucas said turn it off?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I mean, they were lit completely. I mean, I saw no sense in letting it run for 20, 30 minutes.
Okay.
They lit, they were running perfectly fine, roughly 3 minutes, shut it down.
Okay, so here's the report from the gas company, from the public utility. Hooked gas to use stove. Turn on stove and the burners wouldn't stay lit. Why do you suppose that happened? Can you illuminate me on that?
They ran perfectly fine when Lucas had turned it on and she had watched it.
I mean, because this is like an independent witness, a utility company saying she's not making it up, that, they won't stay lit. Now, typically speaking, this is an as-is sale, and with an as-is sale, you need to test it when you're at the place and make sure that you want it. The only thing that's bothering me is this statement that Lucas said, well, there's no need to keep running that, and then it turns out that the things don't stay on. That's a little suspicious to me, I'll be honest with you.
And I just want to say that they didn't allow me to keep the stove lit. Not even for 3 minutes. It might have been...
So why'd you buy it? Can I ask you that? Because you're a grown woman. And if you feel like I should draw the negative inference from them not letting you test it properly, why don't you turn around and walk out?
I don't know. Maybe
right.
I just thought
yeah,
I was
so,
gonna
I have a problem
good
both ways. I have a problem with you telling me they wouldn't let me test it, so I went and bought it. I mean, that's nuts. The other thing that bothers me is the fact that you have not had a repairman come and give you a quote for what if it's a $50 repair? Why would you be entitled to a refund on the whole thing? If it's like you haven't had a repair person come and give you an estimate on the repair. Did Megan, did you guys use that kitchen or that? Let me rephrase that. Did you, Megan and only Megan, did you guys use that stove at any time after you bought the house?
No, we hadn't moved in yet. We just know that the previous owners had said it worked. They were cooking on it one day when we were first looking at the property before we gutted it. But we never personally cooked on it, no.
Ms. Brown, it's hard for me to conclude that they knew it wouldn't stay lit, you know, in the circumstances of this case where they bought the place, they never cooked in it, and they just wanted to get rid of it because they're renovating. I'm not sure why that thing didn't work. I mean, it could be as simple as that that's a propane stove that you bought and you have natural gas, in which case you just need a different kind of connection. You just need an adapter. I think you should try to have someone else from the gas company come and/or have a professional come and take a look at it and see what's wrong with it. But you haven't been able to prove to me that they knew they sold you a faulty stove. Verdict for the defendant.
This is another case where, again, an as-is sale, the only way to undo it is fraud. And a situation like this, especially when you buy something that could present a hazard to you, get something in writing, a simple warranty, even just saying, look, this stove does not in any way create a fire hazard. At least that's something to hang your hat on.
If my unleashed cat hurts my neighbor's unleashed dog, am I liable? They both weigh around 10, maybe 12 pounds.
That depends on the jurisdiction that you live in. There's actually plenty of jurisdictions now that require your cat to be leashed outdoors.
Right, or that don't specify differences between cats and other animals. So
right, no, and some that actually say, no, it's a cat, put it on a leash.
Your ferret, whatever it might
which
be.
Is,
right.
you know, which is kind of interesting because I know cat you and I have ever owned would ever be on a leash.
That's not really fair to cats.
No,
they don't
because
take
their
to the
only
leash
defense mechanism are those nails,
right.
And they usually bolt. They don't usually attack dogs. It's not, you know, haven't you seen Tom and Jerry?
Oh, absolutely.
So,
but could there be liability?
I guess there could
so.
be
Why
circumstances where the person could be liable. It really just does depend on the jurisdiction.
Right. A cat can bite a dog, can scratch a dog, can hurt a
You're
dog.
You're going to be liable. You will be liable if and only if there is a leash law.
Right.
And you didn't obey it. That's when you'll be liable.
Yeah.
We don't punish the cats for their conduct. We don't punish dogs for their conduct. We punish the adults for what they failed to do.
And there's some tough cats out there.
That's right.
My cat Clark used to fight with raccoons, stray cats, anything that would come along, he would take them on.
We once found the vet found a BB lodged in him. We didn't even know he got shot.
Yeah, maybe a drive-by.
That was a tough
Somebody
cat.
capped him.
That was a tough cat.
Right in the rib. It was still in there. Yeah.
I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
This is the plaintiff, Linda Harlow. She says she hired the inept defendant to replace her transmission. He screwed her car up, and she wants him to return the $3,589.80 she paid him for the shoddy job. So she's suing. This is the defendant, Jay Weinberger. He says he gave the plaintiff a 1-year, 12,000-mile warranty, and she brought the car back to him 19 days and 13,474 miles after her warranty expired, complaining. This woman has an old car with a lot of miles on it. She has other problems with it, and she's trying to blame him and get him to pay, which he refuses. He's accused of not shifting gears.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says she hired the defendant to fix her car. She says the guy screwed it up royally and she wants her money back. But the defendant says he's done everything in his power to help this woman out with her problems. But enough's enough already because there's simply no pleasing her. It's the case of sometimes you're always stuck in second gear.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Ms. Harlow, you are suing Mr. Weinberg's transmission company because according to you, he should have to pay for the new transmission job that you just had to have done. Talk to me. Tell me what happened.
Yes. Thank you again, Your Honor, for taking my case.
So, Ms. Harlow, when is it that you brought your car in to have the transmission changed by the defendant?
I took it in March of 2019.
Okay. And what kind of warranty did you get with that job?
He left me with a 12-month warranty with, I believe, 12,000 miles.
He does the transmission in March of 2019, right? Yes. More or less when in 2019 or 2020 do you start having problems with the transmission?
I started noticing actually later in the year. I had it checked with my mechanic, Eddie, my regular guy. He scanned it, and just to go over briefly, and it was determined that it was a torque issue. I also went to Scranton Motors. They scanned it too then. They scanned it later in the year in 2020. After I had brought it in March of 2020, a year later.
Oh, okay. Hold on one second. You brought it to him in March of 2020, you say, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So.
Back again.
And Mr. Weinberger, did you repair the car in March of 2020 or correct whatever it is that was wrong?
So we rebuilt it originally in March of 19. It came in not moving. We rebuilt the transmission, and she came back March 31st of 2020 with a check engine light on with a torque converter code, 741.
What day in March did you rebuild it in 2019?
March 18th.
Okay, but I take it she was calling you before March of 31st when you treated it, or it wouldn't have been inside the warranty. I take it she was trying to reach you before that and within the warranty time, right? Is that why you fixed it?
Not at all.
No?
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
No, it's all right.
We didn't hear from her until March 31st of 2020.
Oh.
She came in complaining about the check engine light on.
Okay.
We actually cleared the code, we drove the car, and we can drive it with a scanner to watch and see how it works, and it worked perfect for us.
Okay.
So it didn't act up. So we replaced two parts that we replaced when we originally built the transmission, thinking maybe that's what was wrong.
And what were those two parts?
One's called the torque converter.
Okay.
And one's called the torque converter solenoid.
Okay.
So we replaced those two parts, not charging her. She was out of the warranty by mileage, but we want to, in good faith, take care of it for her.
Okay. So you take care of that, and then what happens, Ms. Harlow?
Well, he claims that he rebuilt it. When I left the shop, it was still a problem. And correction, I did call him. I did try a few times before in March because we had been concerned before that, the mechanic, Scranton Motors.
So you say that after he fixes it on the 31st of March or whenever he fixes it in March of 2020, that it continued to be a problem. Where's the first evidence that you have that there was a problem?
Still slipping as it had been going before that, and shifting. Problems with that.
So
and the check
who did you show me the I know that you've given us some evidence. I want to know who is the first mechanic who says there's a problem with the transmission after March 31st of 2020, because I need to see when the person said that.
I have this, which I also sent you from Ed's shop.
Okay. The Ed's automotive note is on March 10th of 2021.
Okay, he had typed this later because Ed had typed this later because I needed to get an affidavit because at the time I was trying to get the defendant's shop to bring it in again, even though I didn't know the warranty was over.
Okay, hold on. She's right about that. Okay, slow down. Calm down. Ms. Harlow, don't yell at me. Don't yell at me. I didn't do anything. All right. No, but she's right. This was authored March 10th. But at the very end of this document, vehicle returned to our shop in November of 2020 with approximately 128,500 miles. And it is Ed's Transmission's opinion that the rebuilt originally in 2019 was with substandard quality parts. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Let me hear from you, Mr. Weinberger, about the opinion that I just read out loud of Ed's Transmissions.
November of 2020 was 6,000 miles after we put the torque converter and the solenoid in at no charge to her. So it was out of warranty. So as I said, when she came back March 31st of 2020, it was 1,400 miles out of our warranty. So we did that at no charge, and the warranty was over. It was a good faith repair.
And so let's assume that no good deed goes unpunished. And just for a moment, for the sake of argument, let's assume no good deed goes unpunished. So you do a repair in March, and what she's saying is, you see, Judge, the repair in March didn't work because I had a problem in November. And so this proves that they do, that should be linked together. What's your response to that argument?
My response is that the repair was done when the warranty was over. So there's no warranty in the repair. The transmission lasted our warranty period. Now, we've built hundreds of these transmissions. We never had this problem before. Every once in a while, we get a car that just will not cooperate.
Right.
So.
Here's the thing, Ms. Harlow. What you're asking me to do is basically to make a 1-year warranty, a 1.5-year warranty. A 1-year warranty is a 1-year warranty. It is not a 2-year warranty. If I were in his shoes, I wouldn't have fixed your car on March 31st unless there was evidence that you contacted him beforehand. I don't know whether you have that evidence. It doesn't matter. He did fix it in March. So what you would have to show me is that the fix is that the November problem, you'd have to show me that your next problem is related to that. And then even then, he'd have a defense saying, hey, I did that out of the goodness of my heart. She was out of warranty. But then I'd get into when did you call him? How long did they take to let you bring the car in? And we'd get into all that. But what I need to see is a problem in soon after he does the repair. And you're showing me a problem April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. 8 months later, you're showing me a problem.
Yes.
That's the best evidence you have is it drove great for 8 months and didn't give you a problem for 8 months. Did it give you a problem for 8 months?
Yes, the whole time.
The whole time? What are you doing driving with a bad transmission the whole time? You shouldn't be doing that. Maybe you're wrecking the engine more by doing that and the transmission more by doing that.
Car beautifully. It was well cared for, by the way.
Well, then, if it was well cared for and you had a problem in April, why didn't you take it to a mechanic in April?
I did. Eddie kept saying it's still a problem. It's
Good.
Still a problem.
So just show me proof of that, because according to Eddie, you didn't bring it in until November. Show me something.
No, they diagnosed it.
Okay, darling, listen to me.
They diagnosed it when I brought
Listen
it
to
in
me.
and they said
time limits apply to you. Time limits apply to you. When the rest of us get a 1-year warranty, we get a 1-year warranty. I'm stuck with whatever contract you entered into. You entered into a contract that said 12,000 miles or a year, because this is a contracts issue. It's not the only issue I have in front of me is, are you still within the warranty? And I find that you are not, and I rule in favor of the defendant.
I spent almost $7,000 on. Is that normal?
Well, the judge finds for the defendant in this case, Ms. Harlow, the plaintiff. Go ahead and let off some steam. What are you thinking right now? You lost the case.
My testimony has not been heard because I have witnesses that have seen this, and it's right here in front of me.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. Your testimony was definitely heard. Everybody heard your testimony, Ms. Harlow. You're very upset, but I can't help you, ma'am. It's a contract case, and you were out of warranty. Mr. Weinberger, she is really upset. What do you think about the outcome of the case? What's your opinion?
I agree with the judge. I mean, she was out of warranty. You can tell she's upset, and it's a bad thing to happen. We don't like this, but, that's what the contract's all about.
All right, sir. Well, good enough. Congratulations. The judge found in your favor, and that's the way the case comes to an end.
So, Doug, this is a case where the plaintiff did get a warranty. The problem is the warranty expired, and this raises a really good question. When you have a car or anything where you have a warranty and it doesn't seem to be working right, do not sit on your hands. Immediately confront the seller and say, I'm enforcing the warranty.
Do you communicate with your daughters in Spanish every once in a while? Also, what Cuban traditions does your family still keep?
Yeah, usually when I'm mad, a lot of it'll come out in Spanish. And like sayings and stuff like that will come out in Spanish. We mostly, I was educated in America. I was born in America, and I think in English. I don't think in Spanish. When I talk to my mother exclusively in Spanish, my kids will talk to my mother in Spanish.
Right.
And my kids always wanted to take French or something, or Chinese and Mandarin in school. And I'm like, when you get the second language down, you can try a third. Right. So we'll communicate every so often in Spanish, but it's mostly in English. But, in terms of tradition, it's really your culture and the way you are. Like, I am a very protective mother, and that's not unique to Cubans, but I'm an extremely protective mother. I am all up in their business.
Right.
I often check on their location to make sure. I know the shape of the dorms.
Right.
So I know it's like a clover leaf, so it's super helpful. I can see if they're already in for the night, and then I can relax.
Yeah, there's no Fourth Amendment in our house.
No, there's no Fourth Amendment in our house.
Right.
We have no expectation of privacy. Yeah, that's it. You better talk now, and you better show me your phone. So that's kind of the way it was growing up. We talked to them I talk to my kids every day, and they're no longer living in Miami. I talk to them several times a day through text. So yeah, we're all up in each other's grill. That's kind of the same way my mother and I were, even when I was away at law school.